Hello, Bay Ridge. Welcome to another edition of After Hours. I'm filming this after the meeting on Easter Sunday. It was a great and glorious time to be together and celebrate the resurrection. We were looking at something a little bit different this Sunday on how Jesus' resurrection is part of him being the second Adam, the last Adam, and how that completes the story of God's story for us in our creation, our fall, our redemption. And he's entered into the consummation via his resurrection. And one of the things that was in that text is the phrase of the Son of Man. What is the Son of Man that you care for him? And I wanted to talk today just a little bit about Jesus as the Son of Man. I didn't go into that, but that's related to his resurrection as well. The term Son of Man is actually Jesus's favorite designation for himself. He uses it more often than any other designation for himself to describe who he is and what he's done. And so we ought to ask ourselves, why does he do this? Well, one thing that is certainly true is a lot of other titles had baggage. The very term Messiah had so much baggage that it had been misunderstood by so many people. Jesus didn't want to use that title, I think, because to many people it had to do with politics and coming in and leading an army and doing all kinds of things. So Jesus took the term Son of Man because he was able to really shape and mold it. But the more one thought and studied, the more you could see the huge biblical implications. And there are several different things that come out of this phrase. Number one, the phrase Son of Man shows that Jesus is truly human. The genealogies actually trace Jesus back in Luke all the way back to Adam. In Matthew, it just goes back all the way to Abraham. But these genealogies are showing that Jesus is truly, fully human. And so when it says he's the Son of Man, he is literally the son of a human being and therefore is human. And that's important for us to understand that Jesus is not only divine, he is the second person of the Trinity. He is eternal, co-eternal with the Father to be worshiped and glorified. However, he also is truly, fully human. And that's really important. And the phrase Son of Man carries that along. The other thing is that the phrase Son of Man reveals Jesus as the second Adam. I mentioned briefly on Sunday morning, but Adam is just the word for man. Sometimes it's even hard to know whether to translate it as in the early chapters of Genesis, is this the proper name Adam, or is it referencing the human, the man? And so when Jesus says he's the Son of Man, it's a reference that he is the second Adam. That as there was Adam, there is a son of Adam, a second Adam that comes along, and that's who Jesus is. Thirdly, it shows that Jesus is the fulfillment of Psalm 8 and humanity as a whole. Psalm 8 references not only what is man that you are mindful, but the Son of Man that you care for him. And the early church picked up on this and said it's not just humanity in general, but very specifically the Son of Man who does these things. And they do that by picking up that Paul does this in 1 Corinthians 15, and especially it's done in Hebrews chapter 2, as I mentioned briefly on Sunday, that Jesus is the Son of Man and therefore the fulfillment of Psalm 8 and the fulfillment of everything that humanity was called to be. Jesus, in his oneness with us, in his being the second Adam, is accomplishing what God was calling us to do. Again, this is so important. The story as it carries forward from creation, fall, redemption, consummation is centered on Jesus Christ. He's the fulfillment of God's design for us as human beings, and he accomplishes it, and he does that as the Son of Man. And of course, this leads into then the resurrection and the life that, as Paul points out in 1 Corinthians 15, when he's dealing with it, he brings in this Son of Man text from Psalm 8. The writer to Hebrews does the same thing in Hebrews chapter 2, that this idea of the Son of Man is not just in creation, but in recreation, not just in the incarnation, but also in the resurrection. Jesus is the Son of Man. He is the first fruits that humanity is going to be raised. It is as the Son of Man. He is raised not only divine, but as human. When Jesus took flesh for us, when Paul says, he was of heaven, but he came down to us and he took our flesh, he keeps that for eternity. So when we look and think of the one who is exalted in the heavens and seated at God's right hand, it is the Son of Man. It is the God-man who is seated there. Jesus is accomplishing all that God has called for us to do and to be. So I encourage you to think about this as we are here moving forward from Easter. This was not some throwaway title. It's another point that shows us that Jesus is the focus and the fulfillment of the entire Old Testament. That when we read passages like this, we ought to see him. He is everything towards which the scripture has been pointing. He is the fulfillment of all that you and I are called to be, and he is the door to our inheritance. This is what it means for Jesus to be the Son of Man. I hope this is encouraging. I hope you're having a great week celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ and all it gives to us. Live, friends, in the resurrection life. Have a great week. I'll see you this Sunday as we gather again for worship, whether in person or online. God bless.